Now at 7 o'clock, 11 people stabbed at a men's shelter in Salem last night. We're going to have a live report from the state capitol with all the latest on this coming up in just a moment. Plus,
millions of bees let loose in Washington after a truck carrying them crashed.
And we're also talking about new research that reveals the damage caused by the 2020 Labor Day wildfires in Oregon. That damage may be worse than we thought, and it may last for years to come. Sunrise, streaming at 7 o'clock, starts right now.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on your Monday. I'm China Green.
And I'm Drew Carney. We also have Chris McGinnis on board doing the job of both Chris and Rod Hill. He's got your weather and your traffic.
I got
Chris?
two clickers, one for each job. So I guess we're going to start off with weather first, and we will give you this live look from our Rose City Sky camera. And is there any cloud cover out there? Any? None. All right. We're off to a good start this morning. I'll step out of the way. You can see a beautiful start. It was going to be a great day. 52 last check at PDX. 49 Hillsborough. Temperatures coming up a little bit across the west side. 45 in Beaverton, your upper degree from last hour. As we hop over the Cascades, Burns has warmed up a whole 11 degrees from the 6 o'clock hour. You're now up to 41, a rapid warm up happening on that side of the state. There's not a whole lot weather-wise to talk about today. We've got a lot of sun in the forecast. One thing you will notice is that the breeze will pick up later this afternoon. This is Futurecast at about 6 o'clock, so around dinner time or so. A gusty northwest breeze develops on the order of 20 to 25 at times, right? Sustained 10 to 15 with some 20-mile-an-hour gusts. So be prepared for that. Really a pleasant start to the work week. Here's our plan for today. Wall-to-wall sunshine. Temperatures inching into the upper 70s. Yesterday we were 72. Today we shoot for about 78. And guys, it gets warmer from here. I'll check that out in our 7-day forecast in just a minute. First, let's get you out the door with a pair of traffic alerts. We start off on the west side. A little bit of good news here. The sunset, if you've been watching us for the last few minutes, the drive time has dropped a bit. We're down to 25 minutes to get you in from Hillsborough. The earlier trouble near Cedar Hills Boulevard is out of the way, but I can show you as we go back towards the Bethany area that we had that residual delay, right? So plan a few extra minutes getting in from that side of town. Also some trouble on the Markham Bridge, and just like that, literally in the last minute or so, it looks like that has cleared. A stall on the northbound Markham Bridge had traffic backed up a little bit now into the Twilliger curve. So that too is going to take you some extra time this morning. Once we get that out of the way, I think the rest of the drive is in relatively good shape for now. But there's where that earlier trouble spot was on the Markham. Guys, we'll keep you posted as those drive times continue building up as more people hit the roads in the 7 o'clock hour.
All right, thank you, Chris. Let's get back to our top story this morning. We expect to learn more from police today about a stabbing at a rescue mission in Salem that sent 11 people to the hospital.
It happened just after 7 o'clock last night. Our Daisy Caballero joins us live in Salem. And Daisy, you spoke to someone this morning who was there when it all went down.
Yeah, Drew and China, I did. And that gentleman tells me that his own friend was one of the 11 victims who were stabbed both inside and outside of the mission yesterday. He said he surely thought he was going to be next. Now, details this morning are very limited, but what we do know is that the suspect is a man and he is in custody, and all 11 people were taken to the hospital. That's according to Salem police. This all happened at about 7:15 last night at the Union Gospel Mission Salem of Men's Mission. It's the shelter on Commercial Street in Northeast. Roads in the area are back open this morning after police closed southbound Commercial Street at D Street Northeast during the investigation. Police also say that the 11 victims were taken to Salem Health, each with, quote, varying types of injuries. Their medical status is unknown at this time. This includes the suspect. His name has also not been released, but detectives were at the scene investigating late last night and are expected to share more information later today.
Did you know any of the victims?
Yeah, the guy that is my friend and sleeps right next to me, he got stabbed. He was, like I said, a foot away, and he got stabbed in the back. So, yeah, I thought I was next for sure.
And Tim, who you just heard from, tells me that he has been coming to the mission for the last 7 months and has never seen anything like it during his time here. He's now hoping that the mission adds more security so something like this can never happen again. Back to you guys.
Daisy Caballero live for us this morning with our top story in Salem. Meanwhile, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is investigating 2 shootings in Troutdale over the weekend. The second one happened late Saturday night. That's when investigators say someone fired multiple rounds hitting a building and a car with someone inside it on Northwest Corporate Drive. That person in the car suffered minor injuries. 2 other people were hurt Friday night in a shooting that happened near the Sandy River. The Sheriff's Office, though, says there is no known connection between these 2 incidents.
One person is in custody after a deadly hit and run in Astoria. It happened just before 9:30 Sunday morning at 16th and Irving. Police say 50-year-old Michael Smith hit a pedestrian, another car, but kept driving. The pedestrian, a woman in her 70s, died at the scene.
The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office says 17-year-old Charlotte Fosgate, who went missing from Oak Grove, was found dead earlier this month. Multnomah County deputies recovered her body from the Willamette River on May the 10th. Fosgate was one of 10 found in Portland waterways during the months of April and May. The Sheriff's Office reports no signs of foul play. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office did say there were concerns for Charlotte's mental health when she went missing. If you or someone you know is going through a mental health crisis, there is help available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call or text that number that's up on your screen, 988.
The Seaside Aquarium wrapped up its investigation into what killed an adult sperm whale that washed up on shore last week. It was found about 12 miles north of Seaside last Thursday afternoon, and it was determined that the whale was hit by a boat. The aquarium says while it decomposes on the beach, people shouldn't touch it, and don't let your pets get too close to it either.
The city of Hood River has broken ground on what will eventually become a new apartment complex. The city says this complex will open next summer. It's the first major affordable housing development in 14 years. When it's fully built, it'll feature 130 units, 39 of which will come with federal housing vouchers.
It is one of the oldest amusement parks in the country, and it's right here in Portland. Oaks Park is celebrating 120 years of family fun. The park's birthday celebration on Saturday was completely sold out, and the marketing and events director told us that the park's age is part of what makes it so unique.
Portland grew up around this park, and every aspect of it has been impacted by the people who have lived here over generations. So when you come here, you are experiencing kind of a full range of Portland history in this little microcosm. And you know, Portland loves local, and there's nowhere more local than Oaks Park.
And cosplayers and barbershop quartets were on hand, not to the 1920s. Oaks Park will stay open through October.
All right, we've been talking about this story all morning. An estimated 15 million bees were released into the wild after a delivery truck overturned in Northwest Washington. This happened not too far from the Canadian border. Can you imagine this, though? Oh, 15 million bees? This was early Friday morning. It led to closed roads, lots of cleanup, as you can imagine, over the weekend in Whatcom County. Beekeepers on the scene say about 20% of the bees that were in the truck likely died from the impact, but they also say the chances of survival are very high for the ones who got loose.
They're going to swarm in the nearby farm fields, the local forest, the trees, and they'll either, depending if the queen bees survived, start their colony out there in nature and become wild bees, or a percentage will join local native colonies as well.
A representative with the Washington State Department of Agriculture says honeybees are typically trucked all across the U.S. and internationally to pollinate a variety of crops. I imagine the person behind the camera there, Chris, was wearing some sort of bee suit.
You would hope.
The bees were like right up there on the lens, right?
You would hope, right? Oh my goodness, yeah. And it was interesting that that guy put what sounded like a little bit of a positive spin on an otherwise negative situation there. That was just kind of a little interested in that. All right, never mind. I'll stop geeking out on bee pollination here. Let's get you to the beach. This is a live look from our Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. Cascade Head off in the distance. You can see the shadows on the beach there. It's 46, chilly right now in Lincoln City. The beach forecast, though, nice warm up for you with sunshine and a little bit of northwest breeze. In fact, a little bit. Sustained northwest at 15 to 25 later today. Cascade Lock 72, the Dalles 81, so a little warmer for you folks today than yesterday with a fresh west breeze through the gorge. Southwest Washington, I keep putting a little warmer on all of these slides. Vancouver 78, Salem in the mid 70s as well. Remember that Portland hit 72 yesterday, so we're tacking on several degrees from yesterday's forecast high, or yesterday's actual high temperature, I should say. And here's a look at Futurecast, kind of bears that out. Generally upper 70s do it for most of the Willamette Valley. Not out of the question that somebody hits 80 today. East side, definitely 80s within reach for Arlington, getting out towards Hermiston, Pendleton, just shy of that. And despite the chilly start, like Sun River, Bend, Prineville, you folks started off the day in the low 30s and around 40. How about mid 70s for you this afternoon? Good looking day there for you folks. Well, really area wide. Say hello to Betty, and thank you, Dana Hendricks, for sharing your favorite four-legged friend. Betty is today's KGW Dog of the Day. If you want to get a proper shout-out to your pooch, what you do is you take a photo and then you send it to us at dogoftheday@kgw.com. You do that, and we do the shouting out part. All right, into your 7-day forecast we go. A little warmer tomorrow, a little cooler Wednesday. And Wednesday is going to be a fairly cloudy day, I think. And then we bounce right back into the 80s. And yes, I'll dive more into that possibility of 90 plus on Sunday coming up in just a few minutes. Let's get a look at the roads right now. We started off with a pair of traffic alerts on both the Sunset inbound and the I-5 North commute. So the good news here, if you've been watching us over the last little while, is that the drive times have actually dropped a bit. So earlier trouble on the Sunset has cleared, and the earlier trouble on northbound I-5, if you were watching us just literally 5 minutes ago, just got out of the way. But there is some residual delay. Right now, northbound I-5 is puttering along through the Terwilliger curves at about 11 or 12 miles an hour. All right, never too early to give you the early heads up about another freeway closure. Of course, 217 southbound closed this past weekend for paving on between Canyon Road and 99W. There will be another closure coming up this weekend. And guys, just like last weekend, that kicks in at 9 o'clock on Friday. And just like this morning, it should be reopened before 5 o'clock on Monday morning's commute. Back to you.
Thank you, Chris.
And we are concerned that that is too much fuel for now a new fire.
We're covering this story for you when we come back here on Sunrise. New numbers show the 2020 Labor Day wildfires in Oregon would have a bigger impact than we first thought. Again, that story on the way as Sunrise, streaming live at 7 o'clock, continues right after this.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yeah.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW+.
KGW's Evening News. Important stories to help you stay informed and keep your family safe.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich.
And I'm David Molko.
Weather impact alerts to help you plan your week.
We need to be extra careful with anything that can throw a spark.
And a team of local journalists connected to our community. David Molko, Christine Pitawanich, and Matt Zaffino. Your Evening News team, tonight on KGW.
As we head into another fire season, new research reveals the 2020 Labor Day fires did more long-term damage than we first realized. Libby Dowsett shows us how trees that looked like they survived are now dying off and what that means going forward.
Researchers at Portland State University found the boundaries of many of 2020's mega fires have actually grown due to trees dying years after the flames.
And it's all around us.
The devastation from 2020's wildfires may appear obvious.
There's fire on both sides of the road.
1 million acres of land torched as windy weather fanned the flames of several major wildfires.
Winds about 60 miles an hour.
But what we couldn't see, the danger to trees and so-called green islands within fire zones that appeared to survive but were actually dying a slow death.
Trees are dying, and they're dying at high elevation despite having an initial lower effect of the fire.
Andres Holtz, a Portland State Associate Geography professor, helped lead the study on delayed mortality of trees and green islands.
To 375% or so of those fire refugia actually decline and fully collapse. And so they turn into smaller and smaller, fragmented in smaller pieces, and eventually disappear.
The team of researchers remapped 5 mega fires and watched the change over 3 years. They say the number of trees that died expanded nearly 9%, with older conifers most at risk. Trees and shrubs and green spaces also collapsed due to their isolation and inability to spread seeds. But replanting posed its own problems.
The replanting or restorations creates overabundance of saplings or small trees, and we are concerned that that is too much fuel for now a new fire.
Holtz said a hands-off approach in burn zones would allow a more natural process for the early stage of forest development. As for the future, they say delayed fire effects are expected to continue to increase as we face warmer and drier conditions with global warming. Libby Dowsett, KGW News.
Meanwhile, the Oregon Department of Forestry sent firefighters to Canada over the weekend to help with wildfires north of the border. 14 crew members went to Alberta, where wildfires have been burning for several weeks. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Dakota have all seen air quality alerts because of the smoke that's moved south. As of this morning, more than 25,000 people in 3 Canadian provinces have been evacuated. Chris McGinnis, this is a story that will continue to impact people again, not only in Canada, but in the northern United States.
And that is just a sign of, as we go into the warmer months, that we just expect now, unfortunately, that wildfire smoke and haze and all that becomes just a part of the norm. As we get into the weekend forecast, I did want to point this out, that we do have what looks like maybe our first legit shot at some real heat coming our way. And I talked about this a few minutes ago, so let me show you this. This is the upper level weather pattern showing a big high pressure ridge over the North Pacific. And this is Futurecast on Friday. That ridge begins to migrate and kind of build into the northwest on Saturday and especially Sunday and Monday. So days 7 and 8 of our forecast, maybe you're checking your app and you're seeing 90 plus and you're like, what? Yeah, this is why. It's not a slam dunk yet, but if this does materialize, we could be quite warm to hot as we go into next weekend. And I'll show you, while it does look like a short-lived shot of heat, it will be hot nonetheless, we think. 84 on Saturday. Of course, the Grand Floral Parade is Saturday, and the weather looks glorious. We could be a couple degrees warmer than that, but the point is, a really nice day for Saturday. Sunday, the breeze turns offshore. Note the starting point. We're in the 60s with that offshore breeze, and that could help easily get us into the 90s for highs on Monday, if that all pans out. Again, it's still a few days away, but if things happen the way they look like they might, Sunday's looking like a hot day. Okay, for now, we're gorgeous out there. High pressure over the region and not much going on across the northwest. Really quiet weather setting up for today, tomorrow, and Wednesday for that matter. We'll take you live to the beach right now. The Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. Cascade Head off in the distance, little haze there, right? It's 47 now in Lincoln City, so the temperature slowly rising. I said not much going on weather-wise today. The one thing you will notice later today in the Willamette Valley is the breeze picking up a little bit. And Futurecast bears that out with, I'll stop the model here at 6 o'clock. So around dinner time, full sunshine, temperatures in the upper 70s, and a nice fresh northwest breeze blowing about 15 to 20 or so up and down the I-5 corridor. And that's about the summary of our day today. At the beach, sunshine, 62 or so in Astoria and Pacific City. We'll switch gears and take you to the Columbia River Gorge. Gusty west breeze through the central and east gorge. The Dow's getting up to about 80 or 81 degrees. And then for us in the I-5 corridor, warmer today than yesterday. PDX only hit 72 yesterday. Today I've got Vancouver at 78, Battleground at 75 with full sunshine. And that trend continues down to the south as well. McMinnville 76 and Salem 77 degrees this afternoon. Futurecast, again, pick out your favorite city. Central Oregon in the mid-70s, 74 for Burns after a chilly start for you this morning. Futurecast not showing much today. Tomorrow we get a little bit of an onshore push, which may start with cloud cover at the beach and maybe some brief morning clouds in the valley. But what I did want to point out was Wednesday. Wednesday's the day for the Rose Festival Junior Parade. Wednesday's a day where we're likely to be socked in with cloud cover for a good chunk of the day and maybe even squeeze out some drizzle at the beach, in the Cascades, and in the Coast Range. I don't think we get wet here in the valley, but you can see we take a bite out of the temperatures for sure on Wednesday, and then that system moves out and we warm it up and dry it out for the weekend. And as we mentioned, guys, we are keeping eyes on that possibility of our first round of some real hot weather going into next weekend. All right, let's get you out the door with a look at the roads. And this is live out near one of our trouble spots earlier this morning, the Sunset near Cedar Hills Boulevard. We had a wreck there about 45 minutes ago. That's out of the way. And the residual backup as we take you back out towards the Bethany area, this is also starting to flush out. So we've had some improvement on that side of town. Meanwhile, down to the south, we had an earlier situation on the northbound Markham Bridge. Looks like a car got stuck there on that northbound ramp. That has cleared. Northbound traffic is starting to move along okay, or better now than it was a few minutes ago. So with that in mind, here's a look at your drive times. In from Hillsborough, you got about 30 minutes or so. In from Troutdale, about 22 minutes. And getting in from Wilsonville, about 30 minutes at last check on I-5. The trip from Clark County looks great on 205. I-5, the normal slow and go, of course, over the interstate bridge. China?
Thank you, Chris. Hey, if you're planning to travel by plane this summer, a heads up, the CDC is warning about the spread of measles at the airports. And more details in your national headlines coming up when Sunrise streaming live at 7 continues in just 2 minutes.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
We do want to tell you about some breaking news that we're covering this morning.
Police are asking some people to stay inside their homes.
For the past few hours, we've watched officers coming and going.
Flames blowing in this wind that's been gusting all morning long.
There are level 3 go now evacuation orders in place.
New information that we just got from Portland police.
There is no danger to the public. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Stream extended coverage right here on KGW Plus.
Welcome back to the 7 o'clock hour, streaming live here on KGW Plus. The Centers for Disease Control has a warning for summer travelers about the spread of measles as cases continue to rise across the country. So the centers are going as far as saying if you're not vaccinated for measles, you should consider postponing any trips abroad. Cases have popped up in airports and airplanes, including airports in Chicago and Seattle. NBC News estimates that is more than 1,100 cases have been reported in the U.S. alone so far this year.
Measles can be severe no matter what your age. You can have an infection of the lungs, swelling of the brain, known as encephalitis, and unfortunately death.
Measles is highly contagious and spread through the air by coughing or sneezing or through direct contact with someone who has measles. The CDC says getting vaccinated is really the best way to protect yourself.
Now to your morning rush. A conservative candidate backed by President Donald Trump has won Poland's weekend presidential runoff election. The narrow 50.9 to 49.1% vote revealed deep divisions in the country. The outcome suggests that Poland can be expected to take a more populist and nationalist path under its new president. The closed runway in New Jersey's Newark Airport that contributed to weeks of delays is set to reopen today. The 11,000-foot-long runway has been undergoing planned rehab after showing signs of wear and tear. Officials with the Port Authority of Newark and New Jersey now say that the runway meets FAA standards and has been deemed safe enough to use again. Taylor Swift's entire music catalog now belongs to Taylor Swift. There's been years of bad blood over the Masters recording for her first 6 albums after Swift lost the rights in 2019. She says she still has plans to release a re-recorded Taylor's version of her self-titled debut album and Reputation. And that's a look at your Morning Rush.
A new anchor takes over the NBC nightly news desk tonight. Tom Yamas is in after Lester Holt's 10-year run behind the desk came to a close on Friday. Here's Yamas talking about his new role.
I live by 2 tenets, and I think this is true of all of NBC News. You want to be tough but fair, and you want to report the news without fear or favor. And that's what I'm going to do. I think you have to go to those stories and leave the anchor desk, which I'm going to do a lot because I believe in sort of shining a light and bearing witness. Because I think when there's a story or an event that causes the whole nation to pause and to look at a city or a town in America because something has happened there, I want our viewers to know that I'm going to be there as well. Because I think the greats in our business, they could talk on television, but what truly made them great is that they were great listeners. And I think you have to go down there and hear people's stories because in America, people have a lot to say and they want to be heard.
Coming up in our next half hour, we will have more on this news tonight. NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas. You can catch it at 5:30 this evening.
Coming up in our next half hour, the latest on the fire attack in Boulder, Colorado that sent 8 people to the hospital, what the suspect has been charged with, and why police are now calling it a terrorist attack. Plus, hurricane season is officially here. Why forecasters say evacuation plans could change. Sunrise streaming at 7 continues right after this.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
We do want to tell you about some breaking news that we're covering this morning.
Police are asking some people to stay inside their homes.
For the past few hours, we've watched officers coming and going.
Flames blowing in this wind that's been gusting all morning long.
There are level 3 go now evacuation orders in place.
New information that we just got from Portland police.
There is no danger to the public. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Stream extended coverage right here on KGW Plus.
A Monday morning, and it's busy out there, but we're actually in better shape now than we were just a little bit ago. Earlier trouble in the Sunset out near Cedar Hills Boulevard, that's clear, but now we've got just the normal slow and go, right? Coming in from the Sylvan Hill. We'll switch gears real quick. Door number 2 takes us down to the Westland area. This is Viewpoint, I-205 southbound traffic, a little thick on that side of town. And door number 3 takes us down to Wilsonville. Again, all the drive times are up a little bit, but nothing way out of whack here. We're still looking at about a 30-minute drive to get you in from Hillsborough, so still some residual delay from that earlier trouble out near Cedar Hills. The trip in from Clark County, 20 minutes on I-5 now, Main Street to the Fremont Bridge, but at least you're doing it in style and sunshine. Satellite radar loop showing hardly a cloud in the sky right now. Rose City Sky Camera backing that up. 52 degrees last check at PDX, and the plan for today shows temperatures inching towards 70 by lunchtime and into the upper 70s this afternoon. PDX hit 72 yesterday. Today we're shooting for a high of about 78. And we'll tack on a few degrees tomorrow, maybe 80 before we cool it down slightly on Wednesday. Wednesday looks like a pretty cloudy day, maybe even some patchy drizzle in the morning.
Good morning. All right, imagine this. You are going out for a dip in the pool, only to find alligators. They beat you to it. Hey, you'll not believe where this happened. Where do you guys think this happened?
Let me guess. Florida.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Florida.
It always happens in Florida.
Always happens in Florida. Police were called. They found that 7-foot gator enjoying the backyard pool. Thankfully, the gator was quickly and safely removed.
I mean, it's actually a pretty simple situation, the way you described it. Imagine if I'm going out for a dip in the morning.
Yeah.
I go out, I see that, I go, no, maybe later. I go back inside.
Probably how they react to it, whereas we would be like, ah!
Just going back inside for now.
I would go down to visit my best friend a few years ago in Florida, and he wanted to take me on this little nature hike through this area of like just lined with, it was along a canal, lined with alligators, and I'm like terrified. He's like, not a problem, not a problem. They're docile. Like,
docile until they're not.
Until they're hungry.
Right. Anyways.
We made that walk very briskly.
Jeez Louise.
I'm going to briskly walk on over to the weather wall real quick and show you this. Pretty shot of nothing. Like literally, there's not much going on here across the Northwest this morning. We've got a clear or mostly clear sky, even at the beach, maybe a little haze in the distance. That's the live look from our Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. 49 there. The Dow showing blue sky over Mount Hood. And downtown Portland now 52 degrees, last check at PDX. Elsewhere, upper 40s and low 50s abound. 49 in Hillsborough. 51 in Beaverton. And the big perspective across the state, Burns has had a really nice warm up in the last little while. You started the morning at 30. You're now up to 41. Baker City's thawed out into the mid 40s as well. And the Dow's right now checking in with 55 degrees. All right, the plan for today, lots of sun. Good looking day today, and we'll tack on a few degrees from yesterday. PDX hit 72 yesterday. How about 78 with a nice fresh northwest breeze this afternoon? Looks lovely. All right, how about the drive? Not looking that lovely, although not as bad as it did a little while ago. There's Highway 26 live at the Sylvan Hill. The drive again, puttering a little bit coming down the hill from 217 into the Vista Ridge Tunnel, but not unusually slow. Here's the trip through North Portland, I-5 southbound, a little plugged up as always there as well. Quick look at your drive times. Again, Highway 26 still a little slow from some trouble that we had earlier this morning near Cedar Hills Boulevard. That's out of the way, but the drive is still a solid 30 minutes or so to get you in from Hillsborough, and we're at 20 minutes right now to get you in from Main Street on I-5 southbound to the Fremont Bridge. Real quick, want to take you down to the Jefferson area. Heads up all week this week, exit 238, the on and off ramps from I-5 north and southbound here in the Jefferson area closed for overnight maintenance. You'll have to follow the posted detour. Again, that's mainly impacting overnight traffic with the ramps reopening each morning before the morning commute. True, China?
All right, thank you, Chris. Our top national story this morning is what investigators are calling a targeted terror attack in Colorado that injured several people. Police did arrest the suspect.
It happened during a peaceful march meant to bring attention to Israeli hostages held in Gaza. NBC's Morgan Chesky brings us the latest.
Just stay away, just stay away. In Boulder, Colorado, a chilling act of violence.
There is a male with a blowtorch setting people on fire.
An attacker who police say Sunday afternoon unleashed a makeshift flamethrower into a peaceful crowd.
It was about 20 feet long of this linear spray of fire.
Overnight, authorities charging the suspect, 45-year-old Muhammad Sabri Solomon, with murder in the first degree. The suspect attacking a weekly rally at a downtown pedestrian mall, calling for the return of the remaining hostages in Gaza. Police say he shouted, "Free Palestine." According to two senior law enforcement officials, Solomon is an Egyptian national. They believe he acted alone. 8 people ranging in age from 52 to 88, taken to a hospital, some with serious burns.
It is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
Officers nearby arrested the suspect. Witnesses rushing with buckets of water to help the multiple injured.
Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country.
As the war in Gaza continues following the attacks by Hamas on October 7th, 2023, anti-Semitic attacks in the U.S. rose for the 4th consecutive year, up a record 12%. Just 2 weeks ago, 2 Israeli embassy staffers were shot and killed outside a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. Free Palestine! Federal officials say the suspect shouted afterwards, "I did it for Palestine," I did it for Gaza. And in April, a man throwing Molotov cocktails into Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house just hours after his family held Passover dinner. For those in Colorado who witnessed the terror, a familiar fear setting in.
This is how history repeats itself, and this is probably the scariest, most frustrating, terrifying thing, not just for me and my wife, but for my kids and for all of our community.
Officials say at least 31 people were killed and 170 were wounded after a series of attacks on the Gaza Strip Sunday. The Associated Press is reporting that witnesses saw Israeli forces fire towards crowds on their way to receive food and aid. Shortly after the attack, the Israeli military struck a residential zone in Gaza City. The Israeli military has denied responsibility and says it did not fire at civilians.
The United Nations nuclear watchdog says Iran is secretly stockpiling uranium. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency warns that Iran has secured enough enriched uranium to potentially make several nuclear bombs. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office responded saying the UN's report proves Iran is committed to developing nuclear weapons. Israel is calling on the international community to intervene and stop Iran.
This Wednesday marks 15 years since then 7-year-old Kyron Horman disappeared from his Southwest Portland school.
Over the weekend, Kyron's family and members of the community came together to share stories and memories. That includes Kyron's mother, Desiree Young, who says community support has been crucial for her to make it through the hardest days since her son's disappearance. She also says she still holds out hope that Kyron will be found.
No matter how long a child goes missing, all of us parents are hoping, and we hold out. That's why we wear the buttons. That's why we do the candlelight vigils. That's why we talk about him and raise awareness and share the story, is so that we can keep that hope alive.
No one has ever been charged in connection with Kyron's disappearance, but his stepmother, Terry Horman, was the focus of this investigation for a long period of time. She dropped Kyron off at school the day he disappeared. We have much more on Kyron's disappearance, years of coverage led by investigative reporter Kyla Boshi, available on our website, KGW.com.
One of the longest running gay bars in Portland, CC Slaughter, says it's planning to shut down. After 44 years in business, they'll close their doors for good on August 3rd. But until then, they're encouraging the community to stop by and share memories and help the bar say goodbye in a big way.
The Lentz International Farmers Market reopened for another season over the weekend in Southeast Portland. This is the 20th year of the market, and opening day saw a lot of visitors as well as a lot of price checking. Some vendors blame President Trump's tariff policies for their prices going up.
The processing costs went up 50 cents per pound for smoked items for us and 10 cents a pound for just items in general. I had to increase our bacon by $1 a pound.
Plenty of customers still willing to spend the extra dollars to get their hands on some fresh, locally sourced goods over the weekend.
People in eastern Idaho were treated into a spectacular light show overnight. The Aurora borealis, also called the Northern Lights, danced across the night sky with vibrant greens, purples, and pinks. The video captured in Victor, Idaho, earlier this morning. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, strong geomagnetic storm conditions led to the awesome sight farther south than normal. I have never seen it, Chris McGinnis. I'm pretty sure you haven't either.
Yeah, we talked about that. I have never seen it, and I really want to.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to book our tickets to Alaska, where you're like sure to see them, right? Okay, I'll tell you what we can see is a whole lot of blue sky overhead right now. Satellite radar loop showing clear sky right now, 52 degrees last check at PDX, 55 in Westland. Troutdale, good morning to you folks, 51. And the big picture across the state, we have warmed out of the icebox. Burns started off the morning well below freezing. You're now up to 41, and Baker City sits at 46. About the only big thing you'll notice in the weather today, aside from the full sunshine and nearly 15 and a half hours of it, I might add, is the northwest breeze that picks up later this afternoon. Futurecast pegs that at anywhere from 18 to 22 miles an hour here in town. So that's the plan. Sunny and a bit warmer than yesterday. I've got Portland topping out at 78. The beach should be good and sunny from Astoria to Pacific City and Newport with highs in the low to mid 60s. There will be a good west breeze whipping through the central and east gorge as well. The Dow's getting up to about 81. Same story out towards Arlington and maybe close to it in Pendleton. And then across southwest Washington, Vancouver 78. Remember, PDX yesterday was 72. So these numbers are up a few degrees over yesterday. Salem gets to about 77. Pick your favorite city. How about Mitchell, 73. How about Bend, 74 after the chilly start. And again, the Willamette Valley and the I-5 corridor generally in the mid to upper 70s this afternoon. Same story tomorrow, maybe some brief morning clouds. And then Wednesday, we chop the temperatures down. We may not get to 70 on Wednesday. The reason being we get a really strong overnight push of marine air that will make most of us wake up to a pretty thick cloud deck, I think, on Wednesday morning. And then, poof, it's gone Thursday, Friday. Warm up heading into next weekend. And yes, possibly into the 90s for our first run of some hot weather this weekend. I'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes. Let's get you out the door with a look at the roads. And we start off with a trip in from Hillsborough, a solid 30 minutes right now on Highway 26. And the reason being we had some earlier trouble out near Cedar Hills Boulevard. That crash has long since cleared. The traffic is still taking a little bit of time here to flush out. Elsewhere across the freeway system this morning, door number 2, I think, checking out the Banfield. Yeah, there we go. Westbound I-84, a little tight out near Providence Medical Center. But again, nothing out of the ordinary there. As we check out the drive here on the west side, we'll take you live to 217 out near Denny. And it's a little thick both directions. I point this out as well because, of course, 217 southbound was closed this past weekend from Canyon Road to 99W. Closure number 2 happens this weekend, Friday night from 9 p.m. until as late as 5 a.m. Monday. A section of southbound 217 will close again for paving. Drew, they're in the finishing stages of this long 217 auxiliary lanes project. And over the next several months, they're going to be paving and hopefully have this thing wrapped up by the end of the year.
All right, thank you, Chris. A rehab facility for dogs is set to close this month in Hillsborough unless the owners say they can find a new space that accommodates their business. Co-owner Julie Thomas told us that despite running a successful operation, the lease for Paws Aquatics Water Sports and Rehab is about to expire. So their last day is set for June 14th, and they have to be out of the building by June 30th. Thomas says an electronics company will likely take over the space since that company has already leased other spaces in that same building. She also told us it's been really tricky for her to find a new place to run her business.
Basically, we couldn't really find any place, so we're probably just going to have to go out of business.
In addition to being a rehab facility, one of the pools is often used for dock diving. Paws Aquatics is the only spot in the Pacific Northwest that has a year-round training site for that sport for dogs.
This year, the Rose Festival has a different strategy for ensuring parade safety. So instead of dump trucks blocking roads, about 100 volunteers will be monitoring these barriers that have been installed along the parade route. The Rose Festival is looking for barricade guides for the upcoming Junior Parade on Wednesday and the Grand Floral Parade on Saturday. Details are available on rosefestival.org.
All right, more Rose Festival parade talk here. The Starlight Parade took over the streets of downtown Portland on Saturday night. Parade watchers lined the sidewalks. They checked out all the lit up floats, the marching bands, all the entertainers that were part of this year's parade. The warm-up act before the actual parade was the Starlight Run, and this was really fun too. All kinds of people wearing all kinds of costumes, running a nearly 3-mile run that started and ended at City Fair along the waterfront.
There's a huge variety of people out here tonight. We're just excited to be part of it. What I love is that you get to run the parade route, so you sort of get to, prep the crowd, pump them up, get them ready. That's why you got to bring your costume.
Saw people running, elephants running, bananas running.
A lot of bananas.
There are more bananas. Back to the parade itself, it featured more than 100 illuminated entries with awards going to Best Floats and Best Performers. The Rose Festival, by the way, will announce the winners for Best Float later today.
Yesterday marked the start of Pedalpalooza, known as the official kickoff ride for Portland's Bike Summer Initiative. The family-friendly ride started at Peninsula Park in North Portland, and from now through August, people are invited to bring their bikes and take part in one of the many summer rides.
It's entirely volunteer-led, volunteer-run, and people just being able to enjoy their streets and their communities on bicycle. It's magical.
For the full schedule of rides this summer, visit the website shift2bikes.org.
Coming up here on Sunrise, we're going to hear from experts who say climate change may play a key role on the way hurricanes are reported around the country. Sunrise, streaming live at 7 o'clock, continues after this.
KGW's Evening News.
Important stories to help you stay informed and keep your family safe.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich.
And I'm David Molko.
Weather impact alerts to help you plan your week.
We need to be extra careful with anything that can throw a spark.
And a team of local journalists connected to our community. David Molko, Christine Pitawanich, and Matt Zaffino. Your evening news team, tonight on KGW.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
Hurricane season has officially begun, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is predicting an above normal season. Forecasters blame warmer than average ocean temperatures, among other things.
Veteran hurricane forecasters are now saying that people should start thinking about evacuation plans. Here's NBC's Chase Kane with more.
Hurricane Ian intensified rapidly in 2022. Climate change supercharged the Category 4 storm, which reshaped both the shoreline and people's perceptions of hurricanes. Florida State researchers found nearly half of evacuees left only hours before landfall, despite a remarkably accurate forecast from the National Hurricane Center.
And I wish we would have evacuated even earlier than just the day or the hour, that morning of.
So you feel like the communication about evacuations could have been better or different?
Just a little better. And it really got down to the point where, okay, we were watching the news and said, mandatory to get out.
The storm is headed right to us.
Linda told me that warning from her local TV meteorologist is what nudged her family to leave, likely saving their lives because they returned to find their entire neighborhood leveled by Ian's storm surge.
Things for me have changed.
John Morales is a veteran meteorologist and hurricane specialist for NBC Miami. And because climate change is helping more hurricanes intensify more quickly, that's changing how he communicates with his viewers.
One of these days, people may not prepare like they should because they'll see the mundane tropical storm, say, oh, it's just, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe it'll be just a Cat 1. Well, one of the things about communicating the threat is those low probability, high impact events need to be talked about on air.
Fortunately, the National Hurricane Center's forecasts continue to improve, setting a record last year for the most accurate forecasts in their 70-year history.
So our ability to see these rapid intensifications has significantly advanced over the last several seasons. And even I sometimes am stunned at how rapidly we've progressed in this particular arena.
And those increasingly accurate forecasts from the NHC are important, whether you live right on the coast or even hundreds of miles inland like the folks flooded by Helene last fall. And that's why heeding evacuation orders and listening to a trusted voice,
look at this eye,
can mean the difference in life and death.
Hurricane season, when does that typically start?
June 1st. June through the end of October. But I mean, it's now that the water's warmer and getting warmer, we can extend beyond, so
those time frames, sure.
Yeah, and to their point, as things are getting warmer, there's more juice out there and et cetera. Our weather, by the way, might be warming up a little bit as we go into this upcoming weekend.
You're talking about the 90s on your forecast.
Yeah, you probably look at your phone and say, what's going on? Well, there is that is out there. So let's just talk about that a little bit real quick. If you're looking at your phone for next weekend, because it's Monday, so what are you going to do on a Monday other than plan for next weekend, right? Here's what next weekend is looking like. So what you're looking at is the upper air pattern here on the GFS model. And I'm going to stop the clock at 9 p.m. Friday. This just basically indicates that there's a big warm area of high pressure building over the North Pacific. And as I roll the clock into the weekend, that begins to migrate to the east and set up shop here over the Pacific Northwest. And now it's been a couple model runs that have been showing this. So as that happens more and more, that tends to increase our confidence a little bit that we could be in store for at least 1 or 2 days of some pretty hot weather. And by hot, I mean hot. We're talking low to mid 90s possibly in that part of our forecast. The Grand Floral Parade, of course, is Saturday. That looks gorgeous with highs in the mid 80s. That we may bump that temperature up a little bit. But Sunday's the day where the breeze turns offshore, it looks like. And of course, when that happens, we get the downsloping wind off the Cascades. That kind of accelerates the heating. And so 90 at this point looks like a reasonable forecast for Sunday. And that number could go up. So just stay tuned on that. That part of our forecast obviously still 6-7 days out, but something we're watching. Right now, we're looking at bright sunshine. It's 52 degrees last check at PDX, 55 in Beaverton, 52 in Woodland. Astoria, good morning to you folks in Clatsop County, checking in with 53. And after a start in the 30s, in fact 30 in Burns, you've warmed up to 41 at last check. One of the only things you're probably going to notice about today's weather, other than it's so sunny, is that it will turn breezy later this afternoon. Futurecast has northwest winds, wind gusts anyway, on the order of about 18 to 22 miles an hour in the valley. So to go along with those upper 70s and sunshine, a fresh northwest breeze for most of us later today. Futurecast again shows hardly any cloud cover across the state today. And most of tomorrow, there is a little bit of a marine push early tomorrow morning. Some of that may try to work its way up the mouth of the Columbia and into the Portland metro area. So Tuesday would be a day where we see some brief morning clouds and then they burn off. Wednesday, we get a good push of marine air, and you'll note that Futurecast runs that cloud cover all the way up to the Cascade crest here, which means pretty much along and west of the Cascades, we're going to be socked in with cloud cover Wednesday morning. And then, in fact, our modeling even suggesting there could be some spits of rain out of that, maybe some light rain drizzle in the Coast Range and in the Cascade foothills. I don't think we'll see anything in town. Low to mid 70s for highs across the region today. Again, tacking on a few degrees from yesterday. And as we go into the 7-day forecast, tomorrow should be even warmer. I've got us near 80 before we chop things down a bit on Wednesday. And then we start a gradual warming trend heading into the weekend. Eyes on that possible 90-degree heat or better for Sunday and Monday, too. We'll certainly keep you posted on that. Okay, let's get you out the door with a look at the roads. And right now, the trip out of Clark County. Not bad on I-205. I-5, of course, slow and steady. South of Main Street, that's a 24-minute ride now to get you in down to the Fremont Bridge. This is the live look right now up near Lombard. So we're pretty thick on that side of town. Door number 2 takes us out to the Banfield. I'll tell you, what a difference a few minutes makes. I literally just looked at this camera like 5 minutes ago and traffic was stacked up here, and all of a sudden it is flowing again freely on 84 westbound. So that's in better shape than it was just a few minutes ago. I-5 south of town near Wilsonville, not looking all that bad at all. But that earlier delay on the Banfield is causing some slower than usual traffic getting in from Troutdale. Right now, that's a 32-minute ride now to get you in to the I-5 split. Drew?
Birthday time on the show. Chris McGinnis with a new birthday song. It's your birthday. Let's celebrate on sunrise. No. Song's over. Evelyn, happy birthday to you. She turns 11 with the golf club in her hand. How about Maddox? Teenage years, still right in the middle of those. Maddox is 15 years old today. Happy birthday, buddy. Josh comes in at birthday number 35. What's he holding there? Oh, the fish. Big smile on Ryan. He's 44 today. Happy birthday, Ryan. Lincoln's up next. Happy 49th birthday to Lincoln. Johnny, love the look from Johnny on this Monday morning. He's 51. And Lisa rounds things out, celebrating birthday number 62. Happy birthday to you, Lisa. If you have a birthday you'd like to shout out here on the air, just send it to us. Birthdays@kgw.com is the email address.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
police are asking some people to stay inside their homes.
We've watched officers coming and going.
Flames blowing in this wind.
There is no danger to the public. We'll keep you updated.
Stream extended coverage right here on KGW+.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yeah.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW+.
All right, so listen to this. In just 1 hour, Stone Soup PDX is holding its grand opening for its new cafe in Montevilla. Stone Soup PDX is a nonprofit that helps people who may be experiencing barriers to employment by providing them hands-on culinary training. The new location is at 7400 Gleason Street. Today's grand opening ceremony starts later this morning at 9 and ends at 11.
All right, Chris McGinnis is going to pull off something amazing here as we wrap up the 7 o'clock live hour of Sunrise.
I'm going to make the sunshine.
Well, you're going to do both a traffic and a weather report. 2 jobs handled by 1 man.
Superman. All right. Take that, Tom Yama. 78 this afternoon. Mostly sunny, 80 warmer on Tuesday. And then we've got some morning clouds. May wind up being a mostly cloudy day Wednesday. If that winds up being the case, we may not get to 70, and then the rest of the 70, of course, is quite warm. All right, here is your traffic report. It's slow. I-5 southbound, 24 minutes now to get you in from Main Street. There's the live look. I lied. There's a look at the drive-in from Troutdale. Interstate 84 is 33 minutes right now on I-5 through North Portland. There's the live look up near the Expo Center. That is slow and go down to the Fremont Bridge.
Should I ask, what's your confidence on those 90-degree temperatures? Because I'm seeing them on your forecast. I'm seeing them on my phone.
Yeah, I'd say right now about 65%. Give it another day or two. We've seen the models kind of shift a little bit. This is the first time where we look like we're almost right in the middle of that ridge, and if that happens, we could be well in excess of 90, but we'll see.
All right, stay tuned for that. Of course, we'll have an entire morning of Sunrise for you tomorrow morning, kicking off at 5 o'clock on KGW, continuing here only on KGW Plus for our exclusive 7 o'clock hour on the streaming TV app. We'll close out today's show with this live look from the beach. You got people down there in China. 2 people on the beach who, it looks to me like they're not currently watching the sunrise show.
What are they doing?
What are they thinking?
What are you doing?
What are they thinking? Hey, run back. You can catch the last 2 seconds. You better hurry up, though. Uh-oh. You're going to miss it. How about we see you tomorrow instead?